You're still watching Business Breakfast. Now let's turn attention to Nigeria's blue economy. The management of Nigerian Ports Authority has secured approval for the designation of Lekki Deep Sea Port as customs port and approved wharf. This is in line with the promise of ensuring the operational takeoff for berthing of commercial vessels at the Lekki Deep Sea Port before the end of the year 2022. The NPA had written a letter through the Ministry of Transportation seeking expedited presidential approval for the port to be gazetted as customs port and approved wharf in line with the requirement of the law. Now, with this approval granted, all is set for commercial vessels from across the world to berth and clear cargo at Nigeria's first deep sea port and first fully automated port. Now, let's assess Nigeria's blue economy vis-a-vis its potential opportunities for the country. For further analysis, I'm being joined by Judge Oge Anyebunem. He is a sustainability expert and analyst. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Good to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me around.
Yes, let's begin with a coastline of 852 kilometers bordering the Atlantic Ocean in the Gulf of Guinea and a maritime area of over 46,000 square kilometers rather. Nigeria possesses fresh mangrove swamps, creeks, coastal rivers, estuaries, bays, and offshore waters. 8 out of the 36 Nigerian states with 25% of Nigeria's total population share the Atlantic Ocean coastline. But how well is the country exploring all of these potential?
Okay, thank you so much, Omobolanle. Thank you once again for having me around. I think that so far we can say that Nigeria has done reasonably well, but I believe that we need to, the Nigerian government needs to do much more. So looking at where we are coming from, we saw that concerning Africa's blue economy, we saw that in the last, within the last 2 decades or decades, Nigeria did some reasonable things that would have, or I think that would have, enlarged and expanded that sector of the economy. But looking at the last 10 years coming, you will see that much has not been done. We see that most of the ports we even have in the hinterland are just struggling. The likes of Calabar Port and name them Warri Port, Cocoa Port, and they're practically all struggling. But you also look at the fact that the government has, a reasonable commitment to see the expansion of the Greek economy. For instance, around January this year, we saw the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osibanjo, setting up a committee called Expanded Committee on Sustainable Blue Economy. And he said categorically that committee was set up to see how they can use the economy to tackle poverty and unemployment, which is a reasonable stride towards the right direction. So I believe that in terms of policy, Nigeria has the capability or the capacity to set in the right policy that will drive this space. In terms of manpower, Nigeria has the manpower to drive this space. And if you look at what Nigeria as a nation stands to benefit, is quite enormous. All that is required is just proper and seamless execution and, getting the right people who know these things to handle it. And give or take in the next 5 to 6, 10 years, we would have seen successful impact, successful or great result in that particular space.
Yes, but with all of these resources and the prediction that by 2030, member states of the African Union projected that their blue economic capacity will be worth $405 billion, creating 57 million jobs. They, however, noted that only African nations with clear understanding of the maritime industry and have the political will can harness the benefit of the blue ocean economy by protecting their oceans and seas. But is Nigeria equipped? Do we have the resources? You talked about the fact that we lack the manpower. Do we have all the resources to harness all of this potential?
so that's a good point you're raising there. Africa is, okay, for instance, one country that has done so well when it comes to the economy in Africa is Seychelles. So if you look at what that country has done in that space, it's huge, it's commendable, it's quite enormous. For instance, in 2018, I think October precisely, they were the first to actually launch the first sovereign bond in the world, about $15 million with the help of the World Bank. And that sent a very strong message across the world that Africa is ready to develop that space. Africa is committed to see how we can, Africa can develop and harness the great opportunities that come in the blue economy space. And one beautiful thing, permit me to say that Seychelles, because I see Seychelles as a model country whenever we talk about the blue economy. The fact that 17% of its employment cost, or of its employment is generated, or more than 17%, let me say between 20 to 25% in terms of employment is generated from that space in Seychelles. But most outstanding about this blue economy is that 95% of Seychelles export, total export, domestic export, as we speak today, comes from fish products, which is also
in the blue economy.
Which is also part of the blue economy.
Yes.
So taking it down to Nigeria, can you hear me?
I can. Go ahead, please.
Okay. So bringing it down to Nigeria, I think Nigeria has a lot of lessons to learn from Seychelles. Nigeria has a lot of lessons to learn from Seychelles in the sense that if the things are properly implemented, just if we can even do half of what Seychelles has done, I believe that we will be able to do quite a lot in that space. So, in terms of manpower, all that is needed is the political will. We need the political will. We need a lot of trainings, and most importantly, like I said, we need the commitment to drive, commitment to execute our policies, because policies may be good on paper, but they're not good, or they will not provide any reasonable impact if these policies are not implemented in the true sense of the word. Absolutely. So that's exactly what we need in Nigeria. And Nigeria, in fact, Nigeria can become a model in Africa, looking at the fact that a lot has been done in the oil and gas space. Though we also have some criticisms in that area.
Of course, I was going to say that, but let's look at the fact that the management of the Nigeria Port Authority recently secured approval for the designation of the Lekki Deep Sea Port as a customs port and approved WAF. What does this mean for the Nigerian economy? I know you highlighted the fact that we're not where we used to be, but looking at this recent development, what does it mean for the Nigerian economy?
Okay, good. That's a beautiful one. So that singular act is something that we can actually look at and say that it's a giant stride towards the development of that space. Okay, for instance, you can actually pause to think about the number of people that will be employed by that port alone. Look at the look at the revenue that will be generated for the government. And most importantly, look at how we equally not just serve Nigeria, but serve other African nations within the sub-regions or neighboring nations, let me say. So it's not just, that project is not just something that is going to serve Nigeria, it's going to serve other neighboring nations, and it's going to open up Nigeria in a very tremendous way, not just to the international market, but giving us that opportunity, that platform to expand the economy, and serving as a leverage in terms of encouraging others, encouraging Nigerians, business owners, foreign investors to do so much within the economy.
Yes, President Muhammad Buhari said that with this approval, it means that all is set for commercial vessels to now begin to come into the country. And he also talked about the fact that, of course, you mentioned that it will create more job opportunities and open up the economy to the international organizations. But what are the unforeseen contingencies, if I may put it that way? What structures do you think should be in place to take full advantage of this to boost international trade?
Okay, so that's a good one. So one of the things, like I normally say, is the fact that for such programs to be very effective in the economy, we are seeing a lot of programs in Nigeria over the years. We've seen programs, we've seen projects, we've seen lots of similar programs, maybe not in the maritime space, but in other spaces. Some of them never came to fruition. Yeah, but like I keep saying, there must be commitment from the government and the policymakers to deliver this project. There must be. That's not just commitment, that's strong commitment. And the project also depends on how it is structured.
Okay.
For instance, for me, I believe that most projects that end up delivering their purpose, stem from the fact that they are structured in a way that corruption will not destroy, in a way that bad governance will not destroy. For instance, if you structure the program in a PPP way where you have, public-private partnership,
okay,
and do what we call concessioning. So you are bound to see results. Give people opportunity, or if possible, take it to the capital market, bring it to the capital market, in the sense that the public will have opportunity to invest in it. You expand expand the stakeholding. Let me use that word. Expand the stakeholding, where you have different stakeholders, international investors, state government, private companies having stake in the project. You see that the project may never fail. But most importantly, like I said, the government must show that willingness, that commitment through policy, through structuring to deliver this project to the end. And most of the challenge, one of the challenges we've seen in Nigeria in terms of project implementation is the change of government. So when a new government comes, a new government that does not really understand or that did not start that particular project comes to power, most of the time we see them,
starting
that project
entirely new project.
So government must put in the necessary policies, the necessary structures in place to see that even though you change government 10 times in a year, the project can still survive and deliver its purpose.
But what are your expectations? You'd recall that the Lekki Deep Sea Port took delivery of 3 Super Post-Panamax ships to shore, that cranes, and 10 rubber-tired gantries. And of course, this is the first vessel to berth at the port on Friday, July 1st. What do you foresee concerning all of this development?
So it's a great win for all of us, mostly Nigerians. It's a big win for all Nigerians. So I foresee massive employment. I foresee the economy, a strong or great boost of the economy, where you will now see lots of vessels coming into Nigeria, bigger vessels coming into Nigeria, and it is going to be a great boost to the oil and gas sector. Not just the oil and gas sector, the agro sector, because the CBN has actually invested a lot of money in the agro sector. All in the bid to expand and enhance exports. So having these seaports, springing up, having this project coming up, we are going to see that it's going to boost our domestic exports. As we speak, Nigeria has a lot of deficit in terms of balance of trade. And one of the reasons is that they find it's always very difficult to export goods. We've seen farmers bringing their goods to Apapa Seaport, and at the end of the day, the goods end up, getting bad even before the goods leave that seaport to their destination. So expanding the maritime sector is a win-win for everybody, for the government, for the private sector, for individuals, for the local farmers, and to everyone that means well for the Nigerian economy.
But do you foresee any bottlenecks like corruption, like you mentioned earlier, long unnecessary bureaucratic processes? Do you foresee any of those corruption?
Yes,
do you foresee any of those?
So those are the typical Nigerian challenges. So corruption, yes, we've seen several projects abandoned. We've seen abandoned projects littered across the country, not because those projects were not good, but because corruption crept in and destroyed those projects that are supposed to give a great boost to the economy. So we see corruption. We also see the fact that security is a big challenge right now in Nigeria. Thank God for today, our coastal waters are still relatively safe, but we all have the experience, we know the history of Nigerian, the insecurity in Nigerian waterway, the Niger Delta militants, and the rest. So, given all this, I strongly believe that these challenges are not things that are not so big. They're not so big that they cannot be surmounted or they cannot be tackled. All that we need is the willingness and the strong commitment from the government and from the stakeholders to see some of these projects to an excellent finishing. So if we're able to have that strong commitment, I keep repeating strong commitment from the government, and corruption does not creep in, believe me, we can surmount any challenge.
Well, the Information Minister, Lai Mohammed, in May stated that the project is expected to bring revenues of about $201 billion to federal and state governments through taxes, royalties, and duties, as well as an aggregate impact of $361 billion in 45 years upon commencement of operations. What's the import of this on the economy?
So just imagine that number. That number is huge. That number is huge. So it's going to increase our GDP. Like I said earlier on, it's going to expand the economy. It's going to give a strong boost to the economy. It's going to attract foreign direct investment. And not just this, not just for Nigeria. I think it's very, because when you talk about maritime, you're no longer mostly as it concerns seaport, international seaport. You're not just talking about your country alone this time around. You're talking about other neighboring countries and even most other countries, trading partners all around the world. So it's going to be a strong boost. But I only have a challenge in the fact that Lagos State is already congested. So I don't know. I think it's also one of the things we should be thinking of.
Yes, because sorry to interrupt. I was going to ask you that what are the chances that it would not end up like the Apapa issue? We have the gridlock issue in Apapa, and that's because of the seaport in that area.
Yeah, so you're very correct. The gridlock issue in Apapa is something else. You know, at the time we saw the importers complaining that it costs, more to bring in goods from Europe than sending them from Apapa to
other parts of the country.
A place like Lekki. That's ridiculous. That's terrible. Yes, some of these ports we have to spring it up. But if the infrastructure, mostly the road infrastructure, energy infrastructure, and every other necessary infrastructure that is needed to see the successful operation of this seaport are not put in place, we are still going to see Lagos being highly congested. Because I know what it means to have two international seaports in a small state in terms of landmark like Lagos. So once you are not able to put these things in place, you are going to have a serious challenge.
Stakeholders have also asked the federal government to open up other seaports, like they're on a seaport. You have several seaports in the country that are moribund, not functional.
Yes, so I said it before, it's not just bringing all the seaports to Lagos. So there is also the need for us to take these seaports to places like Warri. Warri seaport has not been functional. Calabar seaport has not been optimally functional. Let me put that word. They've not been functioning optimally. Calabar has not been functioning optimally. One, that's the one in Port Harcourt,
yes,
has been, trying to come to full operation, and since it's supporting the oil and gas space within the South Nigeria. But we need more of these seaports. Imagine that people from the north, everybody has to travel down to Lagos whenever they want to clear their goods. So the risk is high. You cannot just Lagos. Yes, Lagos is the economic center of Nigeria, but you cannot concentrate all these seaports in Lagos, because one, you're going to expose the city or the state to large risk. You are going to expose the people to traffic congestion, to high insecurity, which these are the peculiar challenges that come with, citing projects of this magnitude in a place. So I would encourage the federal government to see what they can do to take most of these seaports, to take some of these projects to other states. In Akwa Ibom state government was trying to build a seaport, I think a Baka or somewhere like that in Akwa Ibom, or around Orong area. They're trying to build a seaport. So they should encourage some of these states to have their own seaport. Lagos can be a seaport that is specialized in can I say household goods and other things, cars and other things. But when you talk about oil and gas can be in Port Harcourt. So if you look at some of the countries overseas, you see that most seaports are specialized. So if you want to send in some kind of goods, you just know that this is the seaport you can go, and this is how they can handle it. So there are ways that we can do it, and the burden, the traffic, in traffic on Lagos, will actually be reduced.
Yeah, I hope all of this would actually put into consideration. But let's wrap up by talking about the issue of piracy. Has this also been have measures been put in place to tackle this issue?
Yeah, so, I said earlier on that the Niger Delta militancy has been a problem over the years. Yeah, though in the past 1 year or two, we've not seen that,
due to the amnesty program.
Yes, we've not seen piracy in the large scale like we used to see 5-10 years ago. Yes, more can be done, it can be sustained. That does not mean that piracy in Nigeria has totally died down. We saw the Horn of Africa, how piracy at the time, I think that was 5, 6, 7 years ago, it was a major area in that place. Why? Because that was a major route for most of the big ships that come to Africa and pass through the Mediterranean and the rest. So piracy is going to be a major challenge when most of these projects come up. So the government, the military, the Navy, they should definitely put the right structures, the right infrastructure to guide the waterway. Because without that, you will see that most of the investors or most of the ships that are supposed to be coming, they will be scared away, and or they will be scared from coming here. And at the end of the day, you see that the aim of the project, the purpose of the project, will be defeated.
All right, that's a good place to anchor it. Thank you so much for your time on the show, Judge Oge Anegbunam. Thank you so much for your thoughts.
Thank you so much.
All right, have a good day.
Thanks for having me around.